Another good way to test the family work is to load it into a project. It's not necessary at all to wait for the moment when we finally form a family. It's better to check it now and at each stage when we add something new to the family. This way, you can immediately detect the error and it will be easier to fix it. Let's create a project. Select the file, New, Project. Then select Metric Architectural Template and click OK. We have a wall-based family, therefore we need walls here. I'll make a couple of them. Select the Wall tool on the Architecture tab. The wall is based on the line. That is, we must draw it and create a wall along it. I draw one wall instance and press the Escape key. Then draw another one. To completely exit from the wall drawing command, we can press the Escape key twice. We have two identical walls. Let's make them different. I will choose one of them and change the type. Let's select, for example, this one. It doesn't matter which type of the family is currently selected. It is important that the walls differ in width. Now we can load the door family into the project. Go to the Family tab and select the Load into Project command. The mouse cursor looks like a crossed circle. This means that I cannot place a family instance where the cursor is. But if I move the mouse cursor over the wall, then I can place the family instance here. Revit prompts. Click on Wall to place door. Let's do this and see that the family instance will be placed. Depending on how we position the mouse cursor a little above the wall center line or a little bit below it, the door will face it in one or another direction. I will also place the door in another wall. Then I press the Escape key twice. We see that regardless of the wall width, the family is placed properly. To see a project file view and a view from a door family file simultaneously, you have to go to the View tab and activate the Tile Views command. The opening we created in the door family will cut the wall anyway, regardless of its width. It happens since, on the one side of the wall, we tied this opening to the reference plane connected to the wall face. On the other side, we linked the opening directly to the wall face. That is, as the wall width decreases or increases, the void extrusion elements forming the opening will automatically rebuild following the wall. You can make sure of it by changing the wall type at any time. For example, this wall is currently assigned to the standard type generic 200 mm. I will replace it with the generic 300 mm. The wall got thicker, but the opening still cuts through it. In this case, reveal depth is a parameter with the value set in the properties of the instance. And this value is measured from the face of the wall, regardless of the total width. The value is now set to 120 mm. Let's try to change it and set it to 150 mm. The reveal depth has increased. You can use the Measure Between Two References tool to check it. This tool doesn't create a dimension. It allows us to measure some distance by pointing it out. But if you press the Escape key, that dimension will disappear. We see that they are indeed 150 mm. We can imagine a situation where the wall will be smaller than this size. For example, in this project, there is a wall type with a width of 90 mm. Let's choose it. we see that the opening is saved, but its width will be equal to the one with the reveals taken into account. Because in fact we see exactly this front part of the opening, and the rest of the depth is already outside of the wall, including the reveals ledge. If we want to make the opening in its real width, then we must zero the size of the reveals. Instead of the 65, put 0. The opening will expand. Its width is 1500 mm. This is the default value that we set within the family for the width parameter. To check the functionality of the family, you should change the parameters values within the project as well. For example, I'll set the width to 1000 mm and the height to 1500 mm. Click OK. No errors occurred. The opening had the correct width. The height can be checked on the elevation view. Let's measure the height. 1425 mm. We set 1500, but if we add 75 mm more, this will be the top reveal size, and then we will just get 1500. Select the opening. You can remove the top reveal and set the value to 0. Additionally, we can check the family on a 3D view. But in this project, there are no formed 3D views. To create one, go to the View tab. And on the Create panel, you will see buttons for creating certain views, including the one for a 3D view creation. Let's click on it. The 3D view will be created. We will immediately go to it. The corresponding scroll will appear on the project browser. The opening that we changed has no reveals now. And it's higher than the adjacent one. Since the reveals are instance parameters, they remain for this second instance. At the same time, the width and height of the opening have been changed, since these are type parameters. In a thicker wall, we can see a reveal ledge both from the opening sides and at the top of the opening. But if the parameter value responsible for the reveals is zeroed for this opening, the reveals will also disappear. I will get them back. Let's try to change the reveal depth value. We've already zoomed it in and checked that it works. But what happens if we reduce it to 0? The program indicated an error. At the same time, the text of the error says that it has been automatically resolved. Here you can see some information the error is related to. The fact is that our opening is formed by two full void extrusion elements. One of them is located between the outer face of the wall and the plane that is tied to this face through the reveal depth parameter. If we set this parameter to 0, then the plane is displaced to the outer face of the wall. In fact, the void extrusion loses its thickness, which leads to an error in the program. The developers of Revit took this situation into account, and the error is eliminated automatically. But it is better to pay attention to such errors when designing the family. The same applies to other geometric elements. For example, lines. that can lose their length and turn to points while the parameter values are being changed. It will also cause an error in the program. Ideally, you need to create a family that doesn't allow such mistakes, or you can write instructions for users who will work with the family, which parameter values can be set and which shouldn't be. In our case, we will provide such family behavior that excludes this problem. We will deal with these at the next stages of door creation. Let's try to set the size between the openings. I will select the Aligned Dimension tool from the Annotate tab. I hover the mouse cursor over an opening. I have the option to snap either to the wall center line or to the opening center. I can't snap to the side edges of the opening. In general, this can be done by pressing the Tab key, but by default, the program offers me precisely the opening center. If I hover the mouse cursor over another opening, here the program will offer me not only the center, but will automatically snap me to the edges. Let's try to figure out what such program behavior is related to. There are some reference planes inside of each family, and we can attach dimensions precisely to their location. Now, Revit offers us to snap to the place where the center reference plane is situated. This is due to its properties. Let's take a look at what each plane parameter is responsible for. I will select the center one. The Properties panel indicates that it defines family origin. This checkbox means that the plane is somewhat the main one among all the planes parallel to it. Only one parallel plane can have such a checkbox. If you install it on a different plane, then it will be removed from the central one. The place where the planes intersect with the checkbox switched on for the Defines Origin parameter is the insertion point for family instances in the project. In our case, such a place is located here. When we placed the openings in the walls, we placed them exactly through the center point. Let's set the Defines Origin checkbox for another plane. For example, for this one. Load the new version of the family into the project. And check how the family instances will be placed. We see that they are located in a different way relative to the placement point. Compare it to the situation when the central plane defined this point. I'll go back to the Family Editor and set the Defines Origin checkbox again for the center plane. Another important plane parameter is called isReference. This parameter can have several values. But in fact, their number can be reduced to only 3 basic ones: not a reference, strong reference, and weak reference. All other values are equal to the strong reference value and exist only for the clear identification of the most important reference planes in the family. Dimensions will be automatically snapped to the place where planes with a strong reference value or equivalent values are built within the family. If the isReference parameter is set to weak reference, just like in the case with our left and right planes, the dimensions will snap to such a plane only if it will not be the first one selected in the chain of dimensions, or if we use the Tab key to choose it. And finally, if the plane has a value of the isReference parameter equal to not a reference, then it will not be possible to bind to it at all under no circumstances, and this can also be useful. Another important parameter of the reference plane is the name. If we specify a name, then the plane can be selected as the one for building other objects on it. We will return to this later. Subcategory parameter is the one that allows us to set different graphical settings for objects within the same category. Scope box is the parameter owned by reference planes, levels, and grids. Scope box is a special object that forms the model boundaries and allows objects such as reference planes to be adjusted to these boundaries. And finally, the wall closure parameter allows you to wrap the outer or inner layers of the walls inside of the opening to a plane with the checkbox set in its value. We checked the family at the current stage of its development. Besides the error with zero reveal depth and the issue that we cannot snap dimensions to the opening edges without using the Tab key, our family works well. Next, we'll fix these problems.